Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me on another Sports Talk Tech live show. I'm your host, Dwayne, and today we'll be discussing the first day's play of the second test match between South Africa and the West Indies in Johannesburg. I appreciate you joining me on the live, and hopefully we'll have a fruitful discussion. And if you're not on the live, well, I'll do respond to your comments and questions on the replay. So thanks again. What an exciting day of play, or is it? To be honest with you, it feels a little bit like deja vu. But before I get into my thoughts on the first day, let's do a quick summary. Let's summarize the day's performance so far. So, South Africa chose to bat and they ended the day's play on 311 runs, and in the process, they lost 7 wickets. Aiden Markram, fantastic performance. He top scored with 96. If it wasn't for what you could consider a lapse in judgment, then he may have well gotten the three figures. Elgar was good again, but a brilliant performance by Tony De Zorzi. Had a brilliant 85-run performance. Unfortunately, Motie found a superb ball to get him out. And so you saw that early in the match, South Africa got off to a great start. As for the West Indies bowling, it was a good effort by Gudakesh Motie getting into the team, returning to the team after reports of a back injury. And he picked up 3 wickets. Significantly, Motie got both Elgar and Markram. And if he didn't get them out, it's almost as if South Africa would have been heading for a much bigger score. And so I thought that the timing of him getting them out was impressive, and we needed that. And Motie again was also he played a crucial role in getting De Zorzi out with what is a fantastic a ball to take his stumps out. And with a late burst from Kyle Mears, who moved the ball well late on, and when you combine that with both Alzari Joseph and Jason Holder both picking up 1 wicket apiece, the West Indies ended the day with 7 wickets. And perhaps we could credit Holder for a level of consistency. He found the right line and length early, at least early enough. And he may have been, had it not for what I would consider some poor field structuring, maybe he would have been able to pick up some other wickets. Maybe he would have been able to pick up more wickets early. So that's the summary of the day. But is it me, or is this a carbon copy of the first test match? And I say this because South Africa got off to a flyer. The West Indies had a hard time restricting South Africa. And when you look at the scorecard, you think it looks balanced. That's one thing. But in the same way that the West Indies had a hard time making inroads into the South African batting lineup in the first test match, they suffered from the same problems here, right? 5 wickets fell in the final session. We got a late burst, as I mentioned earlier, and if you were watching the cricket, and I want to thank everybody that's coming onto the live. I appreciate you. Make sure you get your comments and questions in, anything you want to talk about regarding West Indies cricket. We are talking about the first day of the second test match, against West Indies and West Indies against South Africa in Johannesburg. And I appreciate you, and make sure you smash that like button, because that will help the algorithm get it to other people. And if you find value in our content also, I ask that you give me a little bit of a subscribe and hit the notification bell. And so, as I was mentioning, I think when you think about what happened on day one of the second test match, it looks eerily similar to the performance in the first test match. West Indies bowlers struggled in the first two sessions here. Of course, I don't want to just say they struggled. I think they did, but we must offer some credit. Credit should go to Elgar, credit to Markram, to De Zorzi. They batted fantastically well, but they also capitalized on poor bowling from the Windies. I wasn't quite sure how some of the setup was going on with Captain Brathwaite and the way in which he attacked the South African bowlers early. And as we mentioned, this is really a funny game. So at one point, when Markram was full in control of things, you thought to yourself, this could be 500 runs. And had he not made that ill-advised shot, not quite sure why he made a shot like that. I think early after the test match after day one session, he had mentioned something as if it's just a lapse in judgment, and he didn't capitalize on the three figures. I imagine he'll be kicking himself for that. So that ended that 116-run partnership. But South Africa, after the first two sessions, were 247 for 2. So in many ways, the game is defined by the 5 wickets in the final session. And so the question, and if anybody has the answer to this, please help me. Why is it taking the bowlers this long to adapt to the conditions? How long should it take experienced bowlers to figure out the right line and length, where they need to be bowling? And so I was shocked again. However, I wait. I will give it some time. Well, let's see what happens on day 2, because if South Africa has a similar performance like the West Indies, where most of the wickets fall in the final session, then perhaps we could possibly make a similar calculation that there is something in the wicket, especially late on in the day. On the surface of things, I actually don't think that's the case. It seems like a good batting pitch. There's some turn in the pitch. I don't think the South Africans would have picked 2 spinners if they weren't expecting them to play a significant role in the test match. But it looks like a decent batting pitch. So again, if I had to go with my initial feelings here, I think it's a matter of adaptation. And with the likes of Roach, with the likes of Holder, Joseph, you would think they would have figured this out early. And I think Carl Mears, though he played a central role late on, maybe should have been the one to be finding the edge, changing up on the pace, because clearly he doesn't have express pace, but he has variation and movement. And that, to me, again, is a problem. And so if anybody can tell me if you think it's an adaptation problem, thanks again, everyone, for joining me tonight. Just going over the first day performance, giving it, my thoughts. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on, did you think the West Indies gave away, like in the first test match, too much in the first 2 sessions? And will that ultimately cost them? And this is an interesting question. So our expectation here is that the Windies should be able to come back early. For us, is a matter of hours, because the test match starts at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and pick up the remaining wickets. And if you're a West Indies fan, or if you're the West Indies cricket players, you hope that you'll be able to clean this up very early on day 2. However, I would be worried that this current crop of West Indies batsmen will be chasing something that I hope is less than 350 runs. But even if it goes to 325, 330, we need them to be chasing something under 350. But under 350 is still going to be a significant challenge for these West Indies batsmen. Let me know if you think that let me know your thoughts if you think the West Indies will struggle. And thanks everyone for joining me tonight. I'm Dwayne, Sports Doc Tech Live host, and we are here to talk West Indies cricket. If it's your first time on the channel, I appreciate you. If you're returning to the channel, we definitely appreciate you as well. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, notification bell. If you're really getting some value from our content, I want you to be a part of all of these live shows. I'm planning to do a lot more lives because it helps to build community. So thank you for that. And so if we say they can get the South Africans out in the first session very early, it would be lovely to get them out in the first half an hour of play. The hope is that the West Indies batsmen can structure a better innings than they did in the first test match at the Centurion Ground. And so on the surface, you can't help but think that without the likes of Nokia, that the South African bowling lineup, in his absence, is not as hostile as it would be. And so if you're a West Indian player or a fan of the Windies, you think there's going to be some reprieve there. But after all, the South Africans did pick 2 spinners in their team, and that should worry us as well. So the team, as we know, and it seems as if it's like we belabor the point over and over, but there's no change, so we just have to reinforce things the way we see it. This is a team with persistent batting challenges. However, if Captain Brathwaite, Tejnarayan Chandapal can get us off to a good start, 100, 150 partnership would be lovely. But if they can get us off to a reasonably good start, let's be honest, we'll take an 85-run partnership. And then, if you assume, well, we can't assume anything, but you would hope that the solid contributions from Raymond Reefer and Vice Captain Jermaine Blackwood, and if the likes of Holder, Mears, Joshua De Silva, if they can pitch in with some creditable performances, then you would say to yourself that it could be party time in South Africa. But let's be real. We are, after all, thinking about and watching West Indies cricket. So there's no party time to be had. And when you look, and the only way we can change our thoughts on this, or not even our thoughts, the only way we can change our expectations of what the performance might be is when we get a team that can consistently bat well against quality bowling like the one that's on offer from the South Africans. I really, to be honest with you, I'm hoping that by the time we are able to bowl the South Africans out, which let's hope it's within the first hour, within the first half an hour, will be golden. That when the West Indian batsmen get an opportunity to bat, my hope is, because I'm being real and I'm trying to be optimistic here, I am hoping that by the time the West Indies completes its first innings, that they will be within 20 to 30 runs of the South Africa total. Because I'm not expecting them to make the total. I certainly wouldn't put money on it. I'm not a betting man anyway, but if you were to ask me, I wouldn't do it. But I fundamentally believe, though, that if we can get off to a good start and we get good contributions from the others, then we should be able to make those runs and even more. The challenge is that we have not been able to put up any reasonable batting structure. So you get an innings where one individual makes runs. So if we were to reflect on what happened in the last test match, and I'm not going to Zimbabwe or any other team that's less than us, I'm talking about quality teams. You go back to the last test match and you look at the second innings. What's it? It's only Jermaine Blackwood, and my producer can check for me, but I believe the next highest score after Blackwood in that second innings was 18. It was less than 20. May have been from Holder. So, and in the first innings, you got something from Reefer, and then you got something, somewhat of a support from Jermaine Blackwood. So you're not getting individuals saying, let's get off to a flyer. We need 50. If we could get a 50, if we could get like 4 or 5 50 to 60 runs partnership, then you put yourself in a better position. It's either someone makes 60, everybody in the teens. It cannot work like that. And so I'm trying to be realistic. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us. I appreciate you. That what we need here is to be within reach. That's being within reach of the South African first innings total would put us in a position, I hope, not to lose the test match. If we're not anywhere close to the run target, and within reach for me is 30 is the maximum, I have to be honest with you. Otherwise, no chance. Absolutely no chance. But if we're reflecting on this and we're thinking about where we are, this really is an opportunity for this West Indies team to stand out. What's at stake here? You must try and win an away match. I think that's what you have to go into this match with. And if I'm being honest with you, what I saw in the opening sessions, and I really don't know why I continue to wake up this early to watch West Indies cricket, but what I saw wasn't a team with an urgency to win the test match. I didn't see an urgency for a team that's one down in the series. So I'm very concerned about that. But this is, as I'm saying, is an opportunity for West Indies to win something against quality opposition away. This would do wonders for the confidence for many of these players, something that they can build on. Now, can they win the test match? Of course they can. I doubt it. So for me, a key component here, a key step, a key marker would be for them not to lose the test match. So if you can't win, make sure you at least draw the game. And that is the thing that I'm looking at here. So we really will see, but I'm telling you, this is really an opportunity for them to do something. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining me. In many ways, it was exciting. It was hard to watch at first. I'll be honest with you, and especially when you have to wake up early and you want to see what's going on. It's never fun when you are saying to yourself, they should have been doing a better job. What about the field placing? Is it me? Or I wasn't quite sure. It wasn't as an attacking feel as I thought it would have been. But I always say these things with a grain of salt. And, I'm not the West Indies captain. I don't play for the West Indies. Probably couldn't have. But, it doesn't mean I can't make statements on this. So, but the game is, as I said earlier, is defined by, at least if you want to, not only for West Indies fans, but I think also for neutrals. So if you're watching this test match without any real connection to any of the teams, you saw what you saw early was batting, so some runs, almost a century from Markram, 85 from De Zorzi, Elgar with 40s. And then you see this late fall of wickets. And, what's your thoughts? What for those of you in the comments, your thoughts on Gudakesh Motie? He's playing against quality opposition. Look fairly okay. He's on 3 wickets, 3 crucial wickets. You wouldn't particularly say the balls that got rid of Markram was particularly special. It wasn't anything. It was a lapse in judgment from the batsman, but you still have to bowl it. The one to get rid of, what's his name, Tony De Zorzi, that was a very good ball, excellent. So I thought Motie looked good, and if we're saying he has some level of injury, then this is even better. Thanks everyone for joining me. If it's your first time, we're here tonight discussing West Indies cricket, first day of the test match. Did you see it? Did you wake up early to watch it? What's your thoughts on the first day's play? I appreciate it if you would give me your feedback on that. Yeah, so Motie looks good. I think at this stage, and this might get controversial. I don't think it's controversial, but because West Indies there's a history of not sticking with spinners in the West Indies. We also think about this history in somewhat of a convoluted way, I would think. My reading on it, I've seen articles on this, and when you think about the great Clive Lloyd and him abandoning spinners, we launch into this era of the 4-pace prong attack, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, you name it. So there is this notion in the Caribbean that that spinners don't work. But of course, we've had great spinners in the past, like Lance Gibbs. But in Motie, maybe you should trust. And we have to be honest. Every great team has some spinner. And it's not like we're popping off with express pace bowlers all over. We've discussed this on numerous occasions, and I'll say it again. If you want quality fast bowlers, you have to have pitches that will help them to develop that way. So that's your first step. Obviously, we've also discussed whether young people are going into the game and if other things are of importance to them. Outside of those things, it doesn't matter, but you still have to develop the pitches. But in Modi, you should trust. In Motie, you should trust. Not Modi. Modi is the Indian prime minister. Maybe some people want to trust him, but this is not where we're talking about. And so thanks again, everyone, for joining us. I see some new people popping up on the live. Thank you. Hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell if you want to know when we go live. And I appreciate you coming on tonight. What's your thoughts on the West Indies performance or South Africa's performance on day one of the cricket match, of the second test match in Johannesburg? Are you getting up at wee hours of the morning to catch or to see if West Indies can quickly pick up the remaining wickets and get a start at a reply? Let me know. So yeah, to finish that point, I really think that what we're talking about here is trusting a guy like Motie, and you have to see Gudakesh as someone that long term can be in the team. Amazing performance in Zimbabwe. I know some people will say it's not a stellar opposition, but still, you take what is it, 13 wickets in a test match? Was it 13 wickets? I could ask my producer to check. Then that is something that is impressive. And so I think we should trust in Motie. So for everyone that's joining me, I think that's how how the first day unfolded for me. I look at it and I said to myself, and I'm sure if you watch the test match, you would have similar assessment. And unless the pitch is similar to the pitch at the Centurion ground, we know it's not the same type of pitch. I want to be abundantly clear there. But unless it is similar in the sense that something really happens in the final session in South Africa where wickets go all over the place, then the West Indies bowlers should have figured out much quicker a way to make inroads into the batting of South Africa. Unfortunately, they didn't. But fortunately, the post-tea session was amazing in terms of picking up those wickets and to utilize Kyle Mayers, especially for that final over in which he picked up the last wicket before they ended it. That was impressive. And you wondered why much earlier this wasn't the case and why West Indies took so long to adapt to the conditions. So I hope for tomorrow that what we will see is a quick 3-wicket pickup by the West Indian bowlers, and then we will get a solid start from Tejanarayan Chandapal and Captain Brathwaite. They didn't make any substantial runs or any kind of contributions that you would say to yourself that they're in good position. And so we need them to do something tomorrow, give West Indies a start. And let's hope that when Reefer comes to bat, when Blackwood comes to bat, Holder, De Silva, who else, Chase, that they make some contributions that they can walk away feeling that there's some application there. Because a lot of this is about application. This is why Test cricket is such a difficult game. Well, you need a skill to get to there, but also once you get there, you have to have the patience, the ability to read the conditions, and the ability to stay at the wicket. And with the great Brian Charles Lara there's none better to advise on how to bat very long. And so I always want to leave on a positive note, because sometimes when we discuss teams that don't do very well, it always comes off as if we're operating in a space of negativity. And that's not the case. I myself, a very proud West Indian follower, grew up watching cricket. And I've always said, wherever I am in the world, I will continue to support the West Indies. I watch them when they're down. It's been mostly down for a very long period. But I'm always hoping that they will return. And it's the drug of West Indies cricket, as I say. Sometimes they give you these hints as if things might be back on the up, and then they take it away. But I do hope that tomorrow they will play some stellar cricket, and that they would set themselves up with a chance to win this test match. And if you can't win it, then don't lose it. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining me tonight as I do a quick rundown of the first day performance. I encourage you to like this video. I'm asking you if you find value in this content. I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Also to hit the notification bell. And wherever possible, I ask that you tell your friends, your family. This is a place for you. This is a place to discuss different types of sports. I do track and field, I do basketball, I do every little thing I can cover. But I also give you these explainers. We're good for explaining complicated things that connect to technology as well in sport. And we will have a lot more of this for you. And so you don't want to miss out on the content and the growth of this channel in the coming months. And with that, I will call it a night. I appreciate you for joining me. Thanks again. And as always, when we discuss cricket, when we discuss West Indies cricket, we say rally. Bye for now. Take care.